Madam Chair, members of the committee, good morning.
Good morning.
We're passing something out real quick, and I wanted to just say we have a substitute here.
Can I
And
get a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded. The substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. No, same right. Senator DeSteph.
And Madam Chair, members of the committee, after listening in subcommittee to the concerns from everyone, we decided to put forth a substitute that basically is very, very clear and does only one thing. Just as if a child wants to play sports or if a child wants to go on a field trip, you have to have parental consent. You have to have the parents sign a slip of paper. So what this says, and I'll read it and be very quick, and the information that's being passed around is what was provided in the subcommittee. It's the material we're referring to in these books that are in our middle schools and our high schools. Yes, it's in an envelope. I know some members don't want to see it again. If you want to put it back in the envelope, we'll get it destroyed afterwards. Just a quick point of context on the information. We tried to get it copied over at Kinko's. They refused to do it. We tried to get it copied over at one of the Office Max places. They refused to do it. So we had to work with our folks here and clear the room and have one individual help us with the copying of the material. That's not what we're here to talk about. All we're talking about here is if the information that depicts a child engaged in fondling of sexual or genitalia parts of themselves or another, masturbation, sexual intercourse, cunnilingus, fellatio, analus, intercourse, or object sexual penetration is in a book for our children in middle school or high school and somebody below 18 that the parent has to sign it out. We're not trying to ban books. We're not trying to burn books. All we're trying to do is allow parents to say it's okay for my children to see this. Now, I know individuals will say, hey, I teach this in my courses. I teach this book. I teach that book. That's great. It's age appropriate. So what I'm trying to do here is say, let's do it age appropriate. Let's make sure that what we're doing in our middle schoolers and our high schoolers and those who are under 18, because if this material was in a movie, it would be R-rated or X-rated and would require parents to be there or approve of their child to see this. That's all we're asking. Just like you say it's okay for my child to play sports, parental signature, or to go on a field trip, when they read something that I personally would refer to as pornographic material, but others refer to it as literary works of art, I'm good with that. Not trying to ban anything or burn anything. All I want to say is let's let the parents say it's okay for my child to see this. And I personally believe that this information that you're seeing in this envelope is devoid of any educational value. That's my personal opinion. I believe that it desensitizes our children and hypersexualizes them. Again, that's my opinion, shared by a lot of parents and shared by a lot of others who are child sexual experts. So with this, I just want to put it into the parents and say, if a child is going to check this book out, we want the parents to be able to say yes or no. That's it. We've simplified this down after listening to the subcommittee, listening to people on both sides of the bill. We've made it very simple, very easy. And there's nothing's open for interpretation. We put specifically in the code what we're referring to. So it doesn't have to be considered to be grooming. I know that was a big concern. It doesn't have to be anything else. We went very specific and very direct. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or have any discussions. I know we had a bunch of speakers. We have one of the folks from our school board who's tied up right now at one of the press conferences, but I'm happy to answer any questions myself, entertain any comments, etc.
Thank you. I have Senator Lewis and Senator Edwards in that order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator DeSteph, you took out, actually, I circled in my version that could be considered. That was kind of wide open, and I see that you've taken that out, so that's an improvement. And the only other question I have is and this is existing language, mostly, is handling challenged, controversial, and you've added instructional materials, but where's the challenge piece? I mean, how's it challenged, I guess?
Madam Chair, Senator Lewis, so what I did is I tried to clarify existing code. So where school boards, librarians, and others, when they talk about challenged, controversial materials, I wanted to clarify that and try to put it down to instructional material. So we even tried to narrow it down further with existing codes so that this could not be overinterpreted or overly broad. I tried to actually narrow it down even further with instructional material.
Madam Chair,
Senator Lewis?
just follow. So all they have to do, according to this, as I read, is have a policy in place on how.
Madam Chair, Senator Lewis, yes, sir, that's correct.
Senator Edwards?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, and the patron, it already says under C of line 15, each school board shall ensure the policies developed giving consideration to the views of teachers, parents, and other concerned citizens addressing certain issues. It goes down to selection and evaluation of all instructional materials, etc. Doesn't that cover anything? Covers it all, doesn't it?
Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, actually it does,
DeSteph.
if I may, Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, it actually doesn't cover it all. And what that says is on the selection process of what material goes into our libraries. And if we're familiar with the grooming standards section of code, libraries are actually exempt. And it's all libraries. Same with art museums and other things. So let's unwind back. And I'm just saying, okay, I'm not going to question. I don't want to get into a First Amendment freedom of speech on this. I don't want to get into that debate at all. I don't want to say pull books out of libraries or anything like that. I'm not into any of that. I just want to say if this material is in a book and it hits any of these specific things, nice and narrow, that we want parental consent. So parental written consent is required. Section C of the code really is talking about what goes into the libraries prior to that. I don't want to address that because the books are already in our libraries and it's already skimmed through that portion. What I'm trying to do is keep our children as innocent as possible, as long as possible, and keep it age appropriate. The key here is there are children that I really feel strongly that there's a certain time in one's life that in a international literary work of art like Lolita, it's okay for an adult to read that book. I mean, there's a reason it's a international literary work of art. So I don't want to stop that from being in our libraries at all. I want it to be age appropriate, and in a middle school, I want the parents to be able to say, yes, my child, it's okay for them to read this book. Or if that child's under 18, yes, it's okay for that child to read that book. Or see those graphic novels, that very sexually explicit pictures in graphic novels. So I just want to put it back to the parents and say, yes, it's up to the parent or the guardian to say it's okay. Just like it has to be okay for the parent or the guardian for that child to go on a field trip to the zoo, just like it's okay for that child to participate in a sports activity.
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards?
and speaking to the bill, this is, school board's supposed to consider the parents, teachers, and concerned citizens on all instructional materials, but to point out certain things like it's pretty daggone close to book banning, and it's a serious infringement on First Amendment rights. And I think the bill should be defeated.
Madam Chair, if I may, Senator Edwards, I'm not trying to ban a book. I'm not trying to have it pulled out of a library. I'm not trying to burn a book. I'm trying to say that if it's sexually explicit material, I want the parent to say it's okay for a 10, 11, 12, up to a 17-year-old to see that information. That's all I'm saying. I want the parents to have that choice because I don't think it's age appropriate for a middle schooler to see these pictures. I truly don't. And frankly, if I can't copy it at Kinko's or Office Max, I don't think a middle schooler should be looking at it.
Senator Peterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just comment. I've read the bill, I've read the materials. You know, just 10 minutes ago I was lecturing, I don't think we should be involved in ref and high school sports, and I also don't think we should be involved in micromanaging school libraries. I think we do have guidance in the code already, And the problem is, and I respect that the senator has narrowed this significantly, and it's not banning anything, he's correct. But the problem is that you're going to sweep up books that you don't intend to sweep up. And one of my favorite books of all time is a book called The Kite Runner, about a child growing up in Afghanistan. And that had an example of anal intercourse in it that was used to punish a young boy. And that was part of the narrative. And I'm not saying that to shock anybody or to get it pulled off a shelf. It's a wonderful book. It was a wonderful movie.
Okay.
I just think that, when we try and set these parameters, just like in Senator Evans' bill, we try and set the parameters of how you play football, we're getting outside of our lane. And so I will not be supporting the bill, although, again, I respect your effort.
Madam Chair, if I may, Senator Peterson,
Senator DeSteph, you going to wrap it up?
I don't have any issues with you or anybody else reading the book. I do have issues with my child reading that book when they're 10, 11, or 12. And frankly, I want to be able to say, yes, it's okay for my child to do so, or no, it's not okay for my child to do so. I want to have that parental choice at that specific time. There are some parents that would say, hey, it's age appropriate for a 10, 11, 12-year-old. There's others like me that said, hey, you know what? I'd rather my kids be in high school when they start reading something like that. And again, that's parental choice. I just don't want to desensitize and hypersexualize our children with some of this material, not saying the one you're talking about does that at all. I'm familiar with the book you're referring to. I just don't think I would let my 10, 11, 12-year-old read that. My 17, 18-year-old, let him read it in a minute, because it truly talks about a world situation and what's happening over there in Afghanistan. I truly understand that. But I'm saying, and Senator Peterson, just like with your child, at 10, 11, and 12, I'm not sure you'd probably let your child read that. Above that age, you probably would, and that's okay. But again, you as that parent should be the one making that choice, not just saying unilaterally, anyone can check it out, anyone can read it. So it's about age appropriateness, Madam Chair and Senator Peterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator DeSteph. I'm going to turn back to the committee, subcommittee chair. And
you,
I'd
ma'am.
like to ask Senator Hashim a question before you continue. Was there any conversation around the fact that most, even junior high school students now have smartphones and they can find anything they want?
Madam Chair, yes, I think we heard from speakers who pointed out that the gateway to a lot of material that parents might find objectionable is actually in the hand of just about every child, some as young as in elementary school. But I just want to address some of the concerns raised by the patron as well as committee members. In no way are parental rights being limited. If any child brings material home that the parent would find objectionable, the parent has every opportunity, as parents ought to regulate what his or her child is interacting with. So parental rights remain fully intact. It would take a rather precocious young reader to actually engage with some of the materials that were identified. For instance, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, very sophisticated reading that a sophisticated high school student or a college student would engage in. And then also some of the issues that are raised in terms of parents not having a voice. Genderqueer, which is, I believe, in the packet distributed by the patron, has gone through extensive review, and it's a Fairfax County Public School Committee of High School Administrators, students, librarians, parents, specialists met to review and consider Genderqueer, the excerpt of which is provided. The members read the book, and their findings were that the book is well written, it's a scientifically based narrative, and that they really affirmed its necessary role for some readers. Again, if a book is available in a library, it does not mean that it is being put in the hands of a child. It's not put in the hands of a child whose parents would object to it. It is simply there for access to the children who might want to engage with the materials. And again, the recommendation of the committee was that this bill be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly second that Senate Bill 275 be passed by indefinitely.
Madam Chair, a point of,
Senator Lewis?
What happened
And
to the
Senator Cosgrove?
have we got, is the substitute in front of us, or is it the original bill?
No, this is the substitute.
We did not?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'm sorry, that was a huge oversight. It's been moved to properly second that the substitute be
Madam-
adopted. I knew we had a substitute because Senator DeSteph waved it at me all day yesterday, but, it's been moved to properly second that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Substitute is adopted. Now we're back to the motion.
Madam Chair, thank you. The committee recommended that the substitute, I assume, also be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
It's been moved to properly second that the substitute be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion?
Madam Chairman.
Oh, Senator, I'm sorry, Senator Cosgrove, and you are in queue. I apologize.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. I want to correct a couple of things that were said here. About, you can pull up anything you want to on your iPhone or your iPad. Parents have the ability to block content and block sites on iPhones, iPads, Androids, etc. So parental controls do exist. So to say that kids can pull up whatever they want if their parent is protective of them, that really is not the case. And secondly, and I think most importantly, this last election showed us that parents want to have more control about what is happening in their schools. We all watched that election, and we all know why the governor is sitting in that mansion right now. It had everything to do with parental control and parents having a say what happens to their children in our schools. Now, Senator DeSteph went to great lengths to provide exhibits that, in my view, are absolutely disgusting. And I would hate for my middle schooler to have access to that material without my permission. The other thing is, there's no guarantee that that child is going to bring the book home. He may just read it at school, or she may just read it at school, and the parent would have no earthly idea what that child is being exposed to. I think the substitute is a good compromise, and I hope that this committee will not just blindly and partisanly throw this out and tell parents, still, you have no say in what's happening in your school. Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Saslaw.
so you think that if we pass this, the 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 14-year-olds have no way of finding this stuff anyway? It's just absurd. It's going to happen. I mean, I could understand it if this was confined to elementary school or 7th grade, but to say that you're going to prevent this or prevent kids from seeing or learning about this, when they're juniors and seniors and sophomores and freshmen in high school, is just patently absurd, particularly in today's world.
We
Madam
have a
Chair,
motion.
if I may respond quickly to Senator Saslaw.
Very quickly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Saslaw, these books are actually in our middle schools, which is 10, 11, and 12-year-olds. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to ban content. I'm not trying to burn books. I'm trying to make it age appropriate before we provide pornographic material to our children. And I, as a parent, want to say, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not. That's all I'm trying to do here. I believe it's very clear, and I believe as a parent, I should be able to have that option. And that's all I'm trying to do here is say, yes, it's okay for my 10, 11, 12-year-old to see this material. I'm not saying there's no educational value forever in it. I believe that at some age appropriate time that is appropriate. High school, and maybe a junior or senior. College, yes, that's where they're exploring life and trying to understand the world. Absolutely. But I don't believe a 10, 11, and 12-year-old that we're trying to protect their innocence should be desensitized in this manner and should have access to this material. I truly don't believe that. And I truly believe that everybody up on that dais has to believe the same thing. A 10 and 11, 12-year-old, there's no reason for that child to see this kind of information, this kind of material. Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I apologize for trespassing on the committee's time.
We have a motion on the floor.
Doesn't confine it to that.
Senator Sasslaw, we have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and properly second that the bill be PBI, passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please vote electronically.
Senator Howell, how do you vote? Senator Howell, how do you vote?
To pass by indefinitely, I vote aye.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator DeSteph.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you so very much and have a fantastic day today.
Thank you. You do the same, sir.